Tonight, Honourable Vainga Tukuitonga announces retirement at the last sitting of the 17th Niue Legislative Assembly. Niue and Australia celebrate 10 years of diplomatic relations. Whakalofalahi atu, I'm Soraya Mangawa and this is your BCN News. Leading our news tonight, according to yesterday's update at 1:50 p.m. on the Niue government website for COVID-19, 0 new cases were detected. However, one of the previously active cases has recovered. Niue currently has 1 active case of COVID-19. Today was day 3 testing for the passengers who arrived on Monday's flight this week, a requirement for all passengers to the island to complete day 1 self-RATS test and day 3 PCR test at the Niue Full Hospital drive-through testing station. The 17th Niue Legislative Assembly has officially dissolved after its final sitting yesterday. The cabinet of Premier Dalton Tagelangi will now go into caretaker mode, awaiting the outcome of the general election scheduled for Saturday, the 29th of April. But yesterday, at the closing of the Whanau Kepule, it was to be the final time we will hear the voice of the long-serving member for Alofi North, Honourable Vainga Tukuitonga, who announced her retirement from politics and delivered her valedictorian speech after 24 years as a politician. We're currently here at Whale 2 for the last sitting of the 17th Niue Assembly being held here at the Whanau Kepule Chambers. This morning there are about 10 members of Parliament and the Speaker of House has each given them a moment to share their final remarks for the last sitting as well to prepare for the general elections that will take place next month of April to welcome the new 18th Niue Assembly. 15 of the 20-member assembly attended the session witnessed by the heads of government agencies packed into the public gallery at Whale 2. Speaker Hema Douglas extended the apologies of 5 members, including Liku Member of Parliament Honourable Pokotoa Sipili, Namukulu Member of Parliament Jack Willie Lipitoa, Common Role Member of Parliament Stanley Kalauni, and Richard Heeper, who are all overseas. The 15 members present delivered their farewell remarks, thanking their constituencies, their families and supporters for the past 3 years they served as members of Parliament. Most of the members, starting with Member for Tuapa, Cabinet Minister Honourable Esa Sharon Mona Ainum. Second, Common Role Member Honourable Terry Combe. Third Speaker, Common Role Member Honourable Olaf Jacobson. Fourth Speaker, Member for Tamakotanga, Mr. Ricky Makani. Also, Member for Hakupu, Mr. Richie Motama. Following, Member for Makefu, Mr. Tofua Puletama. Member for Vaya, Mr. Talaisi Tama Talaisi. Member for Toi, Honourable Dion Daufitu. Common Role Member and Minister, Honourable Crossley Tatui. Common Role Member and Minister, Honourable Sauni Tongatule. And Mr. John Sekia Folakapa and Mr. Peter Poimamau Vakanofisi from Amasele. Member for Hikutavake, Mr. Opili Talafasi, used the opportunity to speak about some of the changes that he has witnessed in the last 3 years. Mr. Talafasi said that the Tagelangi-led government is the first government not to have a caucus, which is different from what he was used to in his many years in Parliament. Talafasi is one of the longest-serving members of the Whanau Kepule, representing Hikutavake for 33 years since 1990. The last sitting of the Whanau Kepule yesterday would be the final time the voice of Honourable Vainga Tukuitonga will be heard from inside the Whanau chambers. After 24 years of political life, being the first woman to ever be elected to a village seat, former cabinet minister and member from the village of Alofi North, Honourable Vainga Tukuitonga delivered her valedictorian speech. Honourable Vainga Tukuitonga recorded a few of the highlights of her political career, working with 4 different premiers: former Premier Honourable Sunny Lakatani, former Premier Honourable Young Vivian, the late former Premier Sir Toke Talangi, and current Premier Honourable Dalton Tagelangi. She is the second woman to be elected into cabinet as a minister during the government led by Honourable Young Vivian, where she served for several years. Yesterday, the former school teacher and proponent of Taonga Niue, Honourable Vainga Tukuitonga, said that it has been an incredible journey, but after 24 years, she feels it is time to leave and to spend time with her family. The Chief Electoral Officer, who will be in control of the running of the general elections, Darren Tohovaka, has today officially issued the call for nominations for the general elections, which will be held 4 weeks from now on Saturday, the 29th of April. The nomination fee has increased to $200. Here's more with Esther Pavihi.
In an official public notification today, Chief Electoral Officer Darren Tohovaka issued a notice calling for nominations of candidates to the 14 village constituency seats and for the 6 common role seats. The notice said that candidate nomination forms are available at the Department of Justice, Lands, Surveys and Community Services at Fonuakula, Alofi, during official working hours. All candidate nomination forms must reach the Chief Electoral Officer at the department no later than 12 midday on Thursday, the 13th of April. Notice is further given that the Cabinet of Ministers have approved the increase of the candidate nomination fees to $200 and that the Niue Assembly, the Niue General Elections and By-Elections Regulations 2023 approved the increase in nomination fees.
On Tuesday, on the first day of the final sitting of the Whanoi Kepule, Premier Dalton Tangilangis informed the members that during his visit to the Cook Islands last week, he met with government and business leaders as well as the Niuean community in Rarotonga, where a donation of $50,000 was given on behalf of the government and the people of Niue.
Premier Tangilangi informed the Whanoi Kepule that during his trip to the Cook Islands last week, he met with the chair of the Pacific Islands Forum, the current Prime Minister of the Cook Islands, Honourable Mark Brown. Premier Tangilangi said that the trip also provided the opportunity for him to meet with the Niue community in the Cook Islands and to present the donation of $50,000 to the fundraising efforts of the Niue community there. The fundraising efforts of the Niue Cook Islands community is to build a Whale Niue in Rarotonga for all Niueans around the world. But members of the Whanoi Kepule questioned the Premier's decision to present this donation without first informing the whānau. However, Premier Tangilangi assured the members that the $50,000 was not from the recurrent budget, but was from one of the government's state-owned enterprises, the Niue Philatelic and Numismatic Corporation. Premier Tangilangi said that the fundraising efforts in the Cook Islands is to raise at least $1.5 million to build this Niue Whale, and the $50,000 is Niue's contribution for all the people living on Niue towards this project. The Premier also informed the whānau that he met with the CEO of the airline group Air Rarotonga, and they discussed possible air services agreement for Air Rarotonga to fly regularly to Niue. Premier Tangilangi said that this is an important air link for Niue to provide alternative flight options for travel to New Zealand and other Pacific countries via the Cook Islands. If this air service agreement is confirmed between Niue and Air Rarotonga, it will make Air Rarotonga the second airlines to fly to Niue, which has never happened before. Niue will have 2 different airlines servicing the island at one time.
Also on Tuesday this week, Premier Dalton Tangilanghi and Australia's High Commissioner to Niue, Her Excellency Louise Allerton, hosted an event at the scenic Matavai Resort to mark the 10th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the two countries since it was first established in 2013. Government officials, special guests, including Secretary General of the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat, Henry Puna, were present to commemorate and celebrate the event.
Australia and Niue established diplomatic relations on the 27th of February 2013. Australia's first High Commissioner to Niue was Michael Potts, who was based in Wellington. In 2018, the Australian government announced that it will establish a mission in several Pacific nations, including Niue. In August 2020, Susan Allen arrived in Niue as Australia's first resident High Commissioner to the island. In his remarks, Honourable Dalton Tangilanghi thanked the Australian High Commissioner, Her Excellency Louise Allerton, for the enduring friendship between the two nations as he recalled the day the first resident Australia High Commissioner presented her credentials to him and Cabinet. In her remarks, Australia's High Commissioner to Niue, Louise Allerton, said that the establishment of diplomatic relations and their in-country presence are a testament to the growing importance of the relationship. High Commissioner Allerton said that she is confident that during the coming decades, Australia and Niue will continue to enjoy friendly relations. A recorded message from Australia's Minister for International Development and the Pacific, Honourable Pat Conroy, was well received at the event. Australia is only the second diplomatic mission to be established in Niue after New Zealand.
Secretary-General of the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat Henry Puna arrived on the island on Monday this week. The purpose of his trip is part of a series of high-level consultation visits to member nations, where he also visited the Solomon Islands and Tonga. This week, Mr. Puna has been conducting various consultations with key stakeholders, leaders and community groups on regional priorities, with a focus on the 2050 strategy endorsed by the leaders at the 50th Forum in Suva last year.
Henry Puna is the immediate former Prime Minister of the Cook Islands before he became the Secretary-General of the Pacific Islands Forum, based in Suva in Fiji. On arrival last Monday, Secretary-General Henry Puna first called into the Whalefono 2 for a courtesy visit with Premier Honourable Dalton Tangilangi. Henry Puna is accompanied by his wife, Mrs. Akaiti Puna, and two officials from the Forum Secretariat, Joel Nulon, Acting Senior Policy Advisor, and Penisoni Naupoto, the Engagement Advisor. The high-level delegation has spent the week meeting with civil society groups, government agencies and NGOs. Yesterday, he met with the politicians or members of Parliament after the closing of the Assembly. Today, he met with students of the University of the South Pacific at Paliasi, and tomorrow he will be visiting the students of Niue High School. BCN News will have a sit-down and exclusive interview with Honourable Henry Puna tomorrow.
A consultation meeting is being held at the Taonga Niue Auditorium this week based upon the 2005 Convention for the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions. The meeting is hosted by Taonga Niue in collaboration with the Niue National Commission and UNESCO APIAM. Academic expert Dr. Elise Huffer arrived on the island earlier this week to conduct the consultations on investing in creativity. Here's more on this story. The consultation meetings on the 2005 Convention for the Protection and Promotion of the Diversity of Cultural Expressions began on Tuesday this week. Government and non-government employees, community leaders, especially artists, art curators, craftspeople, and creative artists were invited to attend the meetings. BCN News spoke with academic Dr. Elise Huffer, who arrived on the island on Monday this week to hold consultations on the convention.
Convention dates from 2005, but Niue ratified in 2019. And so the reports are due every 4 years. So this is Niue's first report for this convention, which makes it more challenging, and that's why UNESCO is providing support to Niue in this process.
The four main goals of the convention include support sustainable systems of governance for culture, achieve a balanced flow of cultural goods and services, and increase mobility of artists and cultural professionals, integrate culture in sustainable development frameworks, and lastly, to promote human rights and fundamental freedoms.
Encourage or give the right to countries to develop cultural policies that are focused among other things, on the creative and cultural industries. And the second one is really to help promote the creative and cultural industries in and of themselves. So that means that the purpose of it is to benefit artists, creative people, and the country via those artists and creative people who have an economic role as well as a social, cultural, and political role to play. So it's about supporting that sector, if you like.
This is Niue's first report since it ratified the convention in 2019. As part of the ratification, Niue is committed to the quadrennial periodic report to submit every 4 years on the policies and measures they have adopted to implement the convention. This serves as a dialogue platform for civil society to engage with governments in assessing progress made to protect and promote the diversity of cultural expressions, identify priorities and challenges. In an investigation by BCN News, the Niue police chief has confirmed that despite the high number of dogs neglected and abandoned, Chief Tim Wilson said that to his knowledge, no one has ever been charged in Niue for abandoning their animals, mainly dogs. In the meantime, the police department is again asking for people to register their dogs before the end of this month.
According to the Chief of Police, Timothy Wilson, in 2022, a total of 146 dogs were registered with the police department, but there are more unregistered dogs on the island, many of them without homes and are often seen roaming around looking for food. The registration fees to register your animal starts from $22.50 to renew an annual registration for a dog, $60 to register a new dog or register a dog for the first time, and $15 for a dog collar. On Tuesday, in response to a question by Honourable Terry Coe about the number of dogs registered, Minister of Natural Resources, Honourable Monai Nu, said that the government has started looking into reviewing the registration of dogs.
Just to elaborate on the issue with dogs and the policy regarding the dogs. Currently we're working on reviewing that policy we're working with the Rock Vets to discuss a way forward. I think one of the issues that we've had over the years is the fact that, sure, we can register the dogs, but it's very costly as well if you have if you have a few dogs. So what we're looking at is perhaps reviewing the policy to maybe relook at having the collars and the tags, but have the chips, and have that without cost. And also, that can be what they call the life registration, because at the end of the day, a lot of these stray dogs that the police are concerned, that we're all concerned about, is due to owners not registering them because of the cost. It's quite high. So the Rock Vet team and us are working on trying to review where we can perhaps amend some of those requirements under the policy.
The increasing number of feral dogs has been discussed as a problem for many years, but there is very little conversation around the responsibility of people to feed, care and provide shelter for their dogs. Last month, a young dog was seen looking for food in a village, dragging a floating device that was tied to a heavy chain and tied to the dog's neck. BCN News understands the person who saw the animal took a picture and sent it to the police. The Cruelty Against Animals law is contained in the Niue Act of 1966, but it is not well known. This law protects animals, and if one is charged and found guilty, they can face up to a $200 fine for cruelty against animals. It is an offence to beat, abuse, torture and mistreat animals, or failure to provide sufficient food, water and shelter for the animal, and it is also an offence to abandon the animal. Chief of Police Tim Wilson said that it is difficult for the police department to hold people accountable for the mistreatment and abandonment of animals because they don't know who owns the animals. Meanwhile, the Rock Vets Niue are currently on the island, and the message to the public is to get your dogs and cats health checked and desexed. The team offers free public transport if it is difficult to bring your animals to the clinic at Halamahanga Primary School building.
The Minister of Infrastructure, Honourable Crossley Tatui, told News of the Week last Friday that the government is currently looking at expanding the solar capacity on the island and increasing the number of solar farms to meet the increasing energy demand on the island. For many years, the island has had to endure constant power outages due to a number of issues, including the interface problems with the Power Smart system used at Niue Power to alternate power generations from solar power batteries to the backup diesel generators. Here's more on this story.
On Friday last week, the Minister, Honourable Crossley Tatui, on radio said that they are working with the company PowerSmart to address these issues before the commissioning of the new power station later this year.
At the moment, things are not running according to plan because of a lot of setbacks in terms of there's a program that we have with on the computer app with PowerSmart in New Zealand. that we're working on to improve how we can connect solar power into the national grid. That program has not functioned well as expected. It needs improvement. We're working on the agreement with Power Smart, and we hope to do these things, tidy up these things first and foremost, so that once the new powerhouse is commissioned, we're able to see some improvement in future.
Minister Tatui also explained that last month the government, with the help of experts from New Zealand, looked into a feasibility study to determine whether the current solar infrastructure and capacity is sufficient to cater for the increasing energy demands on the island. And it was clear that there is not enough solar farms right now to generate power for the island.
Not with the current solar farm capacity. Last month, we had a team from New Zealand who came up to carry out a feasibility study of producing more space for a solar farm in other parts of the country as a way forward to help out with the power supply for the people.
Yeah.
And we hope that that project will be fast tracked.
Before we end our news bulletin for tonight, tune in to Radio Sunshine at 11 a.m. for News of the Week radio program with Esther Pavihi, who she will be joined by Honourable Vainga Tukuitonga. And that is our news bulletin for tonight. Join us again next week for more of our local news. I'm Sarai Mangawa, signing off. Good night.